Last night we saw Bitcoin fall from 120 back down to $102,000 in pretty much one candle. This is a 15-minute chart. And pretty much all altcoins dropped about 50 to 70%, some of them even more. You can take a look at any chart and you'll see there was nobody left to buy these wicks. And all the liquidity orders got rinsed through and through. So look at this. 19 billion was liquidated last night. And that's the largest I've ever seen. Usually when you see a crypto crash, FTX when it crashed was a 1.2 billion, 2 billion liquidation level. I've never seen a 3 or 4 billion. Now we've seen a 19. This was major. So I'm going to explain why you shouldn't be panicking now, what caused this crash, and also how to play it. So on my channel a few weeks ago, or about a week ago, I said, look, I've been in three crypto crashes. Yeah, nobody knows when it's going to happen, why it's going to happen, but don't listen to people that will tell you to buy the dip. The cycle is ended. Just always trust your gut. And even yesterday, I posted, and I'm not usually a bearish guy, and I just felt something was off. Everything was ripe for the taking. And I said, look, don't listen to anyone that's telling you buy the dip, it's going to come back. Those people will be saying that all the time just to say, oh, I'm right. Just follow your gut. If you want to sell, sell. Take profits. I never regret taking profits. I regret not selling. That's what I regret. There's always a moonshot. There's always a way to make money in crypto. Trust me. Even in the bear market. In fact, I make more in the bear market than I do in this kind of market. So my 0 to 100 strategy worked really well. And this is something you need to look at. Look at FET. FET fell 70%. That's a major drawdown. Because what happens is most people, it's all down to the liquidations. And why they got liquidated? Because there's massive whales, there's exchanges. They saw that there's so much money there. If I short it and I dump during, a fuddy time where Trump announced tariffs, bang, we're going to liquidate everyone. We're going to buy back here. Let's set our limit orders and we're going to buy back. Yeah, and it's back up. This was the actual dip down to here. If there was no leverage in the market, it would have been here. But the leverage caused all this because their coins, if I long, I borrow assets from the exchange. When I get liquidated, my assets get sold on the open market, and then the exchange takes a little cut, and then it goes back into the pot as a sell. So they get sold. It doesn't just vanish and disappear. On exchanges like this, it's real assets. You buy the assets. That's why things go up when it's longed and there's less money in the liquidity and stuff like that. So this was a fact that there was no liquidity, there was no buy orders at these levels. People couldn't see it falling that much. So when it did go, it went boom. It dropped instantly. Anyway, I don't want to explain too much, but I'm going to explain these guys are killers. Not saying Binance or anyone, but whales will kill your money. If you're a whale, trust me, you'll look at the market and you'll say, okay, look, there's a massive open interest. There's this much liquidity. How many people are long? You can see all this data. It's not like I've got some magic tool. You can see, look, if you had a massive bag of Bitcoin, you would say, okay, if I dump down to here, how much do I need? Okay, if I sell 200 Bitcoin on the open market, I can short it and crash the price down to here, and all these guys, 245 million, will get liquidated. Now, if I do that in a time where it's solid, what will happen is people just buy the dip and then it won't bounce enough. As soon as it gets to here, it won't bounce enough. But if it's during a time where it's really bearish and we've got the extra pressure, like Trump announced these tariffs last night, then it's even easier to keep dropping it down to a certain level until there's a massive opportunity where the buy pressure takes over. I want to look at form and see pretty much everything just nuked on Binance. Binance has the largest liquidity by far, and to have this kind of level of drop, look, I'm not saying it's manipulation, we'll never know, but look, everything was hard down. Now this gives me an idea of putting a an open order always at the bottom, like 1 cent of everything, and just see if any of them ever get filled. But here's the idea: it's not time to panic. The fundamentals are still there in crypto. Everything is still there. There's liquidity still there. At the moment, would I be panicking? Probably not. My 0 to 100 strategy worked really well and it saved me. Due to my portfolio size, I only lost a few grand last night. And I know many people pretty much got wiped out. And because they're losing 50, 60%. They sold the bottom. I mean, look at Solana. Solana that day was pretty much trading at 222 and it went down to 168. Solana is not a bad coin. It's a top coin. Top five. Top five? Top six. And for it to fall that much, 20% in a day is a major crash. Like it's just too much leverage in the market and it will always cause this, it will always do that. But to be honest, I don't think it's the end. I don't think we're going to recover very quick. I don't think we'll get a reshape. I could be wrong, but I'm not personally buying until next week, if anything. And I'm a seller. I'm not really a buyer. I buy when it's bear market, no one's around. I make a YouTube video and it gets 5 views, 10 views because no one's interested in crypto. That's when I'm buying. And I've got my dollars ready for the next cycle. And I'll be doing one-sided positions down, providing the liquidity down for the people that want to sell, because that's how I make the market and that's how I earn my fees and I earn my income, most of it. So, look, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't panic. Things are going to get better. Fundamentals are still there. This was just all down to liquidity levels and people just getting wrecked, over leveraging their trades. But think about it, $20 billion got sold last night to cause that crash. And it's just a game of the killers will kill and they will take the money at the end of the day. You would do the same if you could.